In my first video, I talked about how this whole thing started by my digging through my great-grandfather's journal. I realized what a treasure I was sitting on, but I also realized that they were, pretty hard to work through. Since I'm trying to build this whole system around what I feel would be of worth 100 years from now, I worked under the parameters that most people aren't really going to care what I had for lunch or to see a sticker of a cat. Trust me, I fight myself in trying to balance both of these. Straight writing is boring, but too much ephemera is distracting. So where do you draw the line? I've seen with my own eyes a trash can full of family pictures. Recent generations will look at an inherited box of photos and other information that could never be recovered and just chuck it in the trash is something that is of no value. So I'm trying to build a journal here that will be in a box that's opened and they find it to be interesting enough that they want to hang on to it. It has a description of who and what was going on and hopefully what life was like at this time. Others use their journal more for therapy, so please don't assume I'm dismissing that. I'm just approaching all of my traveler's notebook with a very specific idea in mind. So this notebook encompasses both the journal piece, but it also encompasses my planner piece. So that's really what this particular traveler's notebook is dedicated to. So the first section here is kind of a breakdown of the planner piece and what I have found to be working and not working with that. So we'll dig into that one first. I've already shown you the habit tracker and how that's working out for me, which I enjoy. I've also got the first page of these kind of monthly breakouts that kind of have significant dates on it. What I decided to do with this next page, because the book is only good for 6 months and they've got 12 months worth of kind of monthly columns here, I decided to use it to write down ideas for my various inserts. Like this is my journal ideas that I can cover, what I want to do on YouTube, those kinds of things. So that's what I'm ending up using this sheet for. And then of course I've got the actual planner piece here that I'm working with. A few things I'm still trying to work out. Color coding, I'm inconsistent on that one, so I've got to figure out what I'm doing there. One thing I do enjoy is the fact that I've got these tags that specifically reference a date in the journal, which I will cover here in just a minute. Again, this particular planner I'm using to track my day-to-day. I don't do enough. My job is 8 to 5, and I don't want to track work there. It's better off being in a computer there so I get reminders and people can schedule appointments with me and that type of thing. So it makes no sense to have an hour-by-hour planner insert for me. I just kind of have some several things that go from, in the morning, before work or after work, and this amount of space is sufficient for that, which leaves this one open to be able to do kind of what my great-grandfather did, which is just take a specific day, write a quick note about what's going on. Again, I don't really necessarily anticipate this as being something that people are going to look at 100 years from now, but just in case, I'm kind of doing a little bit of that and writing that down. But that's pretty much all that the planner section covers. The journal section of my traveler's notebook is probably, again, the insert that I think people will want to refer to in the future, as it kind of breaks down a little bit more about me and events. So this journal covers things like my thoughts at the time. It kind of dwells in the current time. So you'll notice that in this I'm kind of using vinyl stickers, and I print out the pictures and make them into a vinyl sticker, and I just stick them in here, which is why in some of these you'll notice I've got spaces for later on to fill it in. but I kind of cover thoughts or topics in this journal, as well as kind of covering some things about me that I think people would find interesting. This is my gamer tag page, which kind of covers my history in video gaming. I'm old, I'll admit it. So I started, my first gaming system was an Atari 2600 back in the late 70s. I've been through every iteration. The Commodore 64 was probably my favorite gaming system, honestly. But that's kind of what this one covers. Is I thought it would be interesting to kind of talk about my video gaming history. I have, on August 2nd in my planner, you'll notice on the 2nd, I do have a star referring back to the journal. So on the 2nd, my sister had helped me get a statue done of a cowboy for my wife. She's from Wyoming. So this is kind of a journal page that talks about that process. I took her out to Cheesecake Factory when we were done, gave her statue. My daughter actually worked on part of the statue herself. This is her dad. He was a cowboy in Montana. So that has a lot of levels of meaning for her. So I decided to do a page dedicated to that. My son does art and does something which he refers to as milk paradox. And so I had him print off all the different, well, I printed them off. He gave me all the graphics that he created, and I printed them off and put them here in a spreadsheet page. I used washi tape to, I think I showed you in my last video, I had one of these planners that just got ruined because of how thick the ink was and it bled through. So I used this for my scratch testing to make sure certain things aren't going to bleed through. And I just grabbed one of those pages out and washi taped it to the side here to kind of expand that, because he's got enough of these images to, you know, be more than just a 2-page spread. So I thought it'd be fun to kind of separate it this way. And this is a legend. Every one of his pictures has specific characters in it. You'll find it in all the pictures. So this is the legend saying what to look for in all these different pictures. Just fun stuff. And that's what this journal is really primarily about, is current thoughts, current events, and things that might be of interest. So as I was working in this notebook with these two things in mind, the planner and the journal, I came to realize that I had more to do. And one of those things is I had 50 years of history that I needed to cover. And this journal I'm currently working in is focused on the present. It's a dumping ground for specific events, thoughts I'm having, highlights of some current aspects of my life I feel are worth expanding on, and other such things. So with that in mind, along came insert number 3. And this is what I'm referring to as my historical journal. It's the one that I'm starting to work on to kind of cover, you know, the first 50 years of my life, if you will. I'm taking several themes through it. The first one is I'm going to cover every state that I lived in. I have lived in quite a few states. My dad was in the military at first, so we moved around quite a bit. So kind of the first theme I'm running through is covering all the states that I lived in: Texas, Maryland, Massachusetts, California, Missouri, Virginia. I still got Illinois, Michigan, Utah are all ones that I still need to cover. These spaces that you see here are what I was referring to by having these templates. I kind of space it there, and that's where a picture is going to go. These are pictures of houses we used to live in. That's me as a baby. And so I kind of reserve the space for those pictures with this template. And then I can just kind of write around it and then print out a bunch of pictures at once to fill in the space. Once I'm finished with states, I was thinking I was going to cover all my grandparents and my memories of them. So really, I've got another bank of inserts that I'm going to be going through. And again, I'm sticking with the grid because my handwriting still has a lot of improvement to make. But I'll have another bank of these that specifically goes over my history so that I can kind of cover the last 50 years, whereas the journal in here is more current. I did realize as I watched a lot of the videos out there that other people have made that there does seem to be some value, I feel, in the therapy part of journaling. So along comes insert number 4 that I've also started, and that's a gratitude journal where I just kind of write down a couple times a week things that I am grateful for, and I'm just kind of goofing off. I've filled out a bunch of them ahead of time, and it'll be 5 items per day, 2 days a week, that covers things I'm grateful for. And I can review that, and when things are kind of negative, and I can refer back to this and reread all the things that make me happy. So in the end, now what was 2 inserts has become 4, and I did get lucky. I will state that. I noticed that I went online and noticed that they had the Tokyo Traveler's Journals available. So I went out and purchased one of those. It literally just arrived yesterday, and I'm doing what I saw somebody else do, which is kind of flip the craft folder backwards, because these are ones I'm going to need to really do some deep writing on. I'll probably want to pull out to write with. So I'm actually just inserting these this way to hold them in place so that I can easily pull out one of these, just slide it out of that craft folder this way and start writing. Set this to the side, and then when I'm done, I can bring it back, slide it back in here, and seal it back up, and ready for the next round of writing. So, yes, Traveler's Notebook number 2. And who knows where it'll go from here, but I am having fun, and I am enjoying the ride.